What's going on, you guys? It is your boy, the American F1 fan, Eric Ringel here, and Formula One is back after a month-long hiatus between races. We finally returned to racing in Baku, but more importantly, sprint races are back, and even more exciting news, as now we've learned what the format for the Formula One sprint season will be. But let's talk about Formula One sprint races, the sprint race weekend, and what changes have been made. First off, if you guys don't know what sprint races are, it is literally a race within the race weekend itself. It's a much smaller race. It's usually about 100 kilometers long or 30 minutes, whichever comes first. It's usually more along the lines of the 100 kilometers. But it's a quick race. No pit stops are mandatory. You can run one tire to the end. Unless you get damage, obviously, then you're going to have to pit. But you're able to, it's basically a 30-minute sprint to see who can get to the first place, And I will have to say, it was kind of exciting at times last season, but I think with the changes that Formula One have made this year, I think it may make it a little bit more exciting. Now, in Baku, there's going to be 6 sprint races this season. But the first one in Baku, it's going to be 17 laps, so it's going to take about, like I said, 30 minutes, and it's about 100 kilometers in race distance. Now, the points have not changed this season, as it'll go 8 points to the winner, 7 points all the way down to the 8th place finisher, which will get 1 point. Now, as we get into more of the discussion of the sprint race weekend and how it's going to work, I kind of wish that they would have made this its kind of own, separate little championship instead of, adding it to the calendar and what you're already getting points-wise throughout the season. But I do see, some of the benefits that we could see, from just adding it to the championship alone. Now, with it being, it's standalone races. Now, sprint races will not set the grid for the Sunday's Grand Prix. It is going to be its own qualifying session and its own race. So basically how it's going to work is on Friday, you're going to have free practice 1. Now, typically you would get free practice 2 on Saturdays. That is not the case anymore, as in Friday afternoon, you're going to have a qualifying session. Now, this qualifying session will set the grid for the race on Sunday, the actual race itself, the full long distance race itself. Then on Saturday, you're going to have a mini sprint qualifying session. So now the same qualifying rules kind of apply here, whereas it's going to be a knockout session. It's going to be 3 sessions. It's going to be, though, 12, 10, and 8 minutes long, instead of the 18, 15, 12 that we're accustomed to seeing in regular qualifying. The next big change is that they're going to mandate specific tires to be run in each session. So in sprint qualifying session 1 and 2, they are going to be racing the medium tires. Then, if you are so lucky to get to sprint qualifying session number 3, you are going to be allowed to run the softs. Now, we have heard that they are going to test that qualifying theory in regular qualifying throughout the season. I think there's at least 2 races that's going to be introduced where they're going to have to run hard, medium and soft compound tires. But the hope within the sprint qualifying sessions is going to be that you're maybe going to get 1 or 2 runs at the most, but you're not going to be able to stop in the garage, get a new set of tires, and go back out, because there's just not going to be enough time to do it. And so you may have to run 1 lap, a cool down lap, and then go again. You're not going to have time to go and change tires like you would in the past. So this is going to put more of a premium on that first qualifying run that you're going to do, because chances are, if you make a mistake on that second qualifying run, you may be out of the top 15 or out of the top 10, and your basically sprint qualifying session is over. So I do like this, and it's going to kind of give us a pretty good, feeler test for when we get these when we get to the regular qualifying sessions, that they're going to add this new wrinkle of you have to run a specific tire. We're going to kind of learn how that's going to, affect those qualifying sessions. So that's going to be one of the interesting parts. And like I said, this is going to be its own standalone race. Like, it doesn't set the grid, which I think in the grand scheme of things, I like a little bit better than it, setting the grid for the race on Sunday. Because one, you had free practice 2, which now completely goes away. But now it's its own, standalone race. And I think it puts a premium on free practice 1. Like, you are going to see cars on the track in free practice 1 almost constantly, because they're going to be trying to learn as much data as they can possibly learn in that one 60-minute practice session that they're going to get for the entire weekend. So it's going to be a premium on trying to find the right setup, the right, tire pressures, the right, just everything to put that car in not only a good position for the regular qualifying session that'll happen later that afternoon, but then also the sprint races when it goes into Saturday. So now, like I was saying, the way the sprint race weekend will work is you got the sprint qualifying session on Saturday, and then you'll have the sprint race on Saturday afternoon, whereas you get free practice 1 on Friday, and then you'll have the qualifying for the race on Sunday. So now my thoughts on this new sprint race weekend, the rules that are set in place. Like I said, my only, I think, concern is that they're adding this to the championship totals. I would have kind of liked to have seen maybe a championship on, inside of a championship, where, you have 6 races that are going to have this sprint weekend setup. And I think it would have been kind of cooler to have a champion of, the sprint races, and then a champion of, the world champion, throughout the entire season. But I also get, Formula 2 kind of does the same thing with sprint races and feature races there in Formula 2, same with Formula 3. So I get why that they're, continually adding it to the World Championship total. I think this makes it a little bit better that there's not so much on the line when it comes to sprint qualifying, setting your position for the rest of the weekend, because we can see there were times in sprint races where, you would have contact with somebody else, you'd get hit, you'd have a mechanical issue, and that would kind of ruin your whole race. And so the sprint races would kind of, jack with your normal positioning when it came to the regular qualifying. So I like the fact that they're making it their own standalone event instead of it being, added to the championship, and it sets the grid for Sunday. I like the separation that they're doing. Like I said, only minor detail is I would have liked to have seen it, kind of be its own championship, but it's not a do or die, like, oh God, I'm not going to watch it. Like, I think this makes weekends a little bit more interesting now, because you're also taking away that second free practice session. But guys, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of the new rules for the sprint qualifying weekends are. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Guys, as always, slap a like on these videos for more daily and weekly Formula One content. We're going to be live streaming the Baku Grand Prix this weekend, as we're doing for all races this season. So guys, join me this Sunday for that race. I'm not going to be live streaming the sprint race. I want to kind of see, before I do any live streams of that, to see kind of how it goes before I decide whether or not we're going to live stream those and do a live reaction video to those. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. And guys, for the American F1 fan, I'm Eric Ringel, signing off.